Hi, I'm Katie. And this is the story of how my day in the big city turned into a complete and total disaster. If you've ever tried to navigate a huge, bustling city, you know that nothing ever goes as planned. It all started when I decided I needed a break from the small town life. So, I booked a bus ticket to the city. I thought, how hard could it be? People go to the city all the time. I was ready for an adventure. I packed my bag, got on the bus, and mentally prepared myself for the most exciting day of my life. Spoiler, it wasn't. First, I arrived in the city, and let me tell you, I was immediately overwhelmed. It was huge. There were skyscrapers everywhere, cars honking, people walking so fast, they almost looked like they were in a race. And the noise, the noise. It was like a constant symphony of honks, sirens, and chatter. I could barely hear myself think, but being the optimist I am, I pushed forward, holding my map like it was my lifeline. I thought, okay, Katie, you've got this. Just head to Central Park. You can't go wrong there. I started walking in what I thought was the right direction. 2 hours later, I was completely lost. My phone died. I had no idea where I was. The only thing I could do was follow the crowds and hope for the best. At one point, I ended up in a very fancy part of the city, and everyone around me looked like they had just stepped off a runway. I, on the other hand, was in sneakers and a t-shirt, trying my best to blend in. Then I saw a street performer juggling flaming torches, and I thought, this looks cool. Maybe I'll stop and watch. But as soon as I stopped, I realized the crowd was not just watching. They were waiting for their turn to juggle. And somehow, I was invited to join. With zero juggling experience, I awkwardly grabbed a flaming torch, which immediately dropped and almost set my shoe on fire. The crowd gasped, and I awkwardly tried to act like I meant to do that. Just a little trick, I said, giving a thumbs up. They weren't convinced.
After that, I quickly decided it was time to leave the area. But somehow I got even more lost.
I ended up in a tiny alleyway where a very eccentric street vendor tried to sell me a magical rock for $50. I politely said no, but he insisted. This rock will change your life. I was tempted, but I didn't have $50 to spend on a rock, so I politely backed away and bumped into a bike courier who was zooming down the alley. My bad. He nearly knocked me over.
But somehow, we both survived the encounter, and I quickly walked away before he could scold me.
Now, I was hungry, so I figured I would grab some food. That's when I saw the food truck that was serving something called street tacos. I didn't know what a street taco was, but it sounded delicious. So I decided to try one. I took a bite and immediately regretted my life choices. It was so spicy. I could feel my entire face turning red. I started sweating.
Then I realized I had no water.
Just as I started to panic, a very kind woman walking by handed me a bottle of water and said, "Happens to the best of us." She gave me a wink and walked away.
I thanked her with my very red face, still trying to cool down.
Finally, I made it to Central Park, thankfully, without any further incidents. I sat down on a bench, exhausted, and took a moment to breathe. Then I noticed the huge sign next to me that said, "No, sitting on the grass." I couldn't help but laugh. At that moment, I realized that even though my day in the city had been chaotic, I was still alive and I'd learned a few valuable lessons. Moral of the story? The city may be big, noisy, and overwhelming. But if you can survive a flaming torch, a magical rock vendor, and street tacos that could set your mouth on fire, you can survive anything! And maybe next time, I'll just stick to visiting places where I can set myself on fire. Like a library. Thanks for watching! See you next time!